Are you looking to join the British military? If you are, I'm going to give you some solid advice. My number one piece of advice. It might seem controversial, and I'm guessing every other military YouTuber hasn't told you this, but I'm willing to let it out. For those who don't know me, my name is King Sloth. I was in the British Army for just under 7 years before I transferred across to the Royal Air Force, where I still currently work. Most military YouTubers will tell you fitness is the main thing for phase 1 training. Being mentally prepared is the main thing for phase 1 training. And I myself have talked about this in the past on many different videos. I've done YouTube for many years mentioning the best ways to train for the British Army, best ways to get ready for general British military training. But I've never really let you know the bit of advice which I'm guessing saved me. And this was actually told to me by someone who's ex-forces, who went through the same as me in a harder period of time where there was a lot less restrictions on what the training staff could do to you. Now there's a lot less screaming, there's a lot less beasting going round, but it is still a very hard time. So most people would say you need to smash fitness, you need to be mentally prepared, and I'm not saying you don't need to do that. That's a definite, you need to be fit, you need to be mentally prepared, because it is a very hard thing to do. Phase 1 training is no joke, and a lot of people, I think it's about 35% to 40% of people, when they're in phase 1 training, don't actually pass out. They don't finish, whether that be through medical injury or whether that be through pulling yourself out of the training system because you just can't keep up, you cannot do it. You struggle with the training, struggle with the fitness, you struggle just generally being there with authority figures around you. My piece of advice, I need to listen very closely here. You need to be the grey man. So what is a grey man? The grey man, for those who don't know, is someone who's neither the best at something nor is the worst. He flies or she flies under the radar, near enough unnoticed, and gets through training without raising too many eyebrows. Obviously there'll be some instances where you need to ask for advice, and 100% you can go and ask for advice. And I'm going to go over my story, how I stayed under the radar. So for myself, I was never the fittest person. Never have been, never will be. But with regards to fitness, I knew on my selection, I was told aim for 14 minutes. I knew during phase 1 training on a run they're aiming for 10.5 minutes. So I aimed to get 10-minute 15. Without fail, any terrain, if I could run a mile and a half minimum in 10-minute 15, I knew I'd pass and it'd be just over the time period where I need to pass the mark. Press ups and sit ups, I made sure I could do 10 over the limit, either press ups and sit ups, and make sure I can do it in the time limit. And that was a massive thing. The fitness wise, I had that squared away, knowing I could just pass it comfortably. Like, not, in other words, I know I could have probably pushed harder. I know I could have got a higher score. But when you get known as being that person to be really fit, they constantly strive for you to be even fitter and push yourself even harder. Some people end up getting injured, other people then can't keep up and end up just becoming burnt out and then pull themselves out of training. That's nothing you should do. But the mental side of things, you need to stay concentrated. You need to still be doing your pass marks and different things. On the range, make sure you're good on the range. That's one thing I'd say. Make sure you don't mess up too badly. Actually concentrate, work hard, listen to the marksmanship principles. That's a massive thing. When it comes to your maths, such as like your CBRN, your BCD, your map reading, take care, do a lot of listening, and it sounds bad, not a lot of talking unless you are really confused. If you're really confused, go and speak to one of the corporals. Like when you go to a group activity, show quickly, corporal, can I pull you across for a second? And then ask them, and they'll be like, okay, he was listening, he's intrigued, he wants to know a little bit more, and they can help you and figure that out, that problem. By that, it also shows them corporals that you are wanting to work hard. You're still under the radar of not knowing things, but showing your improvement means that they will see you in a positive light. You're not just mugging things off and then getting onto the, like map reading. if you mug it off when you're on your exercise or your test sort of thing when you do a bit of orienteering, if you can't do it and you haven't asked that question, you look like you haven't been paying attention. You're on their radar. If you've asked the question and figured out the problem which you were struggling with, you're the grey man. You've done the job, and people around you will also go like, oh, well, he knows what he's doing, sort of. He's asked questions. He seems pretty confident with it. That's great. On exercise, don't raise too many heads. Literally do exactly as you are told to the T. A lot of people say you need to keep pushing yourself to the point of like you're beasting yourself. Push yourself in the field to the point where you're really, really struggling. For myself, I didn't really struggle. I made out that I was struggling a lot more than what I was, because the senior staff want you to be fragged. They want you to be tired and worked hard. But in reality, you don't have to be. You can relax. You can chill out as much as possible. Like for me in the field, I remember I luckily had a very good training team. My corporal was a Remy lad. And when it came to being in the field, he was like, I will not do anything extra than what is mandated for me to do. So that meant he openly told us, like, if we go on a patrol, and you meant to have hearing defence in, that if he literally said, if I do not have my helmet on when we go on a patrol, we will not be getting fired at. We would just be walking, having a nice bin ball bound. We'll be still going in our formation, but we will having a bin ball round. We aren't getting shot at, but still practice your 10 to 2 in your spacings. That's a massive thing. Next thing on that is with the training team, if you become, I'm not going to say close to them, but be known as being like someone who's willing to go up to them. They're not shy to go to the training team, but like, I'm looking for help. Like, almost go to them, be like, I'm interested in your career. I'm interested in how you've got to this stage in your career. Almost big them up and make them think that you're very much more interested in them. I learned a lot about my corporal, about his career, a lot about what he's done. He was the person who told me about being the grey man. And even at the end of my phase 1 training, he said, you've been a grey man this entire time. And I'm like, it's valid. I don't think the other corporals even knew my name. And at 14 weeks in close proximity with each other, I don't think we had 4 sections, and the only thing the person who knew my name was my own corporal. Like, they just didn't. They noticed that when it was like you'd go in the field, and rather than saying like your name like everyone else, to go, you come here, and you're like, okay, cool, just you. Didn't even know my name. They'd call out everyone else by their name, but when it came to me, they wouldn't. They'd literally go, you come here. That's when I knew I was sort of under the radar, and I got through it. And I remember literally my corporal at the end of the phase 1 training being like, you have made it through this by being invisible. Like, even my reports through it, they said that I'm working hard and I could do better. And that is like a generic post for every single person in the military. He works hard but can do better in every single thing. And that to me was showing like they've seen that I'm doing good and they know I can do better. Same as like when I mentioned earlier about like the fizz. They've seen me. They knew I can do better. I've been able to pass each test, but I haven't strived to push it a lot harder. I've been hitting near enough the same marks every single fitness test we did. Every single fitness session we did, I put in the same amount of effort. It was one of those situations where I knew always were going to be on me, but I made them think that I was working a lot harder than what I was actually working. So by being the grey man in this scenario, the training team almost get off your back. And that helps you massively, especially phase 1 training, when you'll see people getting screamed at on a daily basis. On a daily basis, people get screamed at. You'll see people, grown men, crying. We had that a lot in our section, I'm not going to lie. We had blokes who were like 30 plus years old crying their eyes out because they've been shouted at because they were either really not good at fizz, they weren't prepared, they weren't mentally prepared, or they weren't being the grey man. They weren't sticking in that middle zone and coasting their way through. I know this is very controversial to even say, but I personally think if you are very worried about phase 1 training, this is some solid advice and probably the best I've given out. And I hope you use it, and I wish you the best in your military career and however far you get. It's been King Sloth. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you all soon. Peace.